Somewhere inside Yale University's Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library sits a 240-page book written in a language no one on Earth can read. Not the CIA, not the NSA, not the world's greatest cryptographers, linguists, or artificial intelligence systems. For over a century, it has resisted every single attempt at translation, and we still don't know who wrote it, what it says, or why it exists. This is the Voynich Manuscript, and it might be the most mysterious document in human history. In 1912, a Polish-born book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich purchased a collection of old manuscripts from the Jesuit order at Villa Mondragone near Rome. Among them was an unassuming volume, small, roughly the size of a modern paperback, filled with bizarre illustrations and an unknown script. Voynich immediately recognized he had something extraordinary. He spent years trying to trace its origins. A letter found tucked inside, written in 1665 by Johannes Marcus Marci, rector of Prague University, revealed that the manuscript had once belonged to Holy Roman Emperor Rudolph II, who allegedly paid 600 gold ducats for it, roughly equivalent to $250,000 today. Marci believed it was the work of Roger Bacon, the 13th century English friar and early scientific thinker. That attribution has since been largely dismissed. Radiocarbon dating, conducted by the University of Arizona in 2009, placed the manuscript's vellum firmly in the early 15th century, between 1404 and 1438. The ink and paints are consistent with that period. So whoever made this, they made it 600 years ago. The manuscript is divided into sections based on its illustrations. There's a botanical section with drawings of plants, except most of these plants don't exist. They don't match any known species. Some appear to be composites, as if someone took the roots of one plant, the leaves of another, and the flower of a third. There's an astronomical section with circular diagrams that resemble zodiac charts and celestial maps. A biological section shows small human figures, mostly women, bathing in pools connected by elaborate plumbing systems filled with green and blue liquid. A pharmaceutical section depicts jars and vessels alongside more unidentifiable plants. And a final recipe section consists of dense blocks of text with star-shaped markers in the margins. Every page is hand-painted. The effort involved was enormous. This was not a casual undertaking. Someone invested months, possibly years, creating this object. The text itself is where things get truly strange. It's written in an alphabet of roughly 20 to 25 distinct characters, flowing left to right in a consistent hand. Statistical analysis shows it has properties that real languages have: predictable letter frequencies, word length distributions, and something resembling Zipf's law, which governs how often words appear in natural text. But it also breaks rules that all known languages follow. Words repeat far more than they should. Certain characters appear almost exclusively at the beginning or end of words, in rigid patterns that no natural language exhibits. Some researchers believe this points to an artificial or constructed language. Others argue it could be a natural language written in an unfamiliar encoding system. Here's the most unsettling part. There are virtually no corrections anywhere in the manuscript. No crossed-out words, no insertions. Whoever wrote this either copied it flawlessly from another source, composed it perfectly on the first attempt, or simply wrote down whatever came to mind, because it doesn't actually mean anything. During World War II, some of the greatest codebreakers in history tried their hand at the Voynich. William Friedman, the man who cracked Japan's purple cipher, spent decades on it. He ultimately concluded it was an early attempt at creating a universal language, though he couldn't prove it. The NSA took a crack at it in the 1950s and failed. British codebreakers examined it, academic linguists studied it, none succeeded. In the age of computers, brute force approaches have been applied. Frequency analysis, neural networks, pattern matching, and while they've generated headlines claiming breakthroughs, none have produced a verifiable, consistent translation. In 2014, a retired botanist named Arthur Tucker claimed the plant illustrations matched species found in 16th century Mexico, suggesting the manuscript might be Aztec in origin. In 2017, a television researcher named Nicholas Gibbs declared it was a medieval women's health guide, written in abbreviated Latin. In 2019, A computer scientist named Gerard Cheshire said it was written in proto-Romance. All three claims were largely rejected by experts in the field. The theories cluster into three broad camps. First, it's a genuine text in a lost or obscure language, possibly an extinct dialect, a private cipher, or an early constructed language. The statistical properties of the text support this. It behaves enough like real language to make this plausible. Second, it's an elaborate hoax. The most frequently cited suspect is Edward Kelly, a known forger and occultist who worked in Prague around the time Rudolf II allegedly purchased the manuscript. Kelly had both the motive, money, and the skills to fabricate something convincing. However, the radiocarbon dating predates Kelly by over a century. Third, and this is the theory that keeps linguists up at night, it could be meaningful text obscured by a method we simply haven't figured out yet. A steganographic system where the real message is hidden within the visible text using a key we don't have. If that's the case, it might be genuinely unbreakable without the key. Recent multispectral imaging has revealed details invisible to the naked eye. Faded text, erased markings, and underdrawings that suggest the illustrations were carefully planned, not improvised. This argues against the hoax theory, since a forger would be unlikely to invest that level of hidden effort. DNA analysis of the vellum confirmed it came from multiple calves, at least 15 different animals, meaning the material alone represented significant expense. Protein analysis of the inks showed they're consistent with medieval European practice. In 2020, a team at the University of Alberta applied artificial intelligence to the text and tentatively suggested Hebrew as the underlying language, with the letters rearranged through an alphagram system. But their results were met with skepticism, and no independent team has been able to replicate the findings. The manuscript now lives in climate-controlled storage at Yale, cataloged as MS-408. It has been fully digitized and is freely available online. Thousands of amateur codebreakers work on it every year. None have succeeded. 600 years after its creation, the Voynich Manuscript remains the only known historical document of significant length that has never been deciphered. Not partially, not tentatively, not at all. In an age where we can sequence genomes, photograph black holes, and train machines to write poetry, this small, hand-painted book from the 15th century remains completely, stubbornly opaque. Maybe one day someone will find the key. Or maybe the Voynich manuscript is exactly what it appears to be, a message from 6 centuries ago that was never meant for us to read. What do you think? Is the Voynich a genuine cipher, a medical text in disguise, or the most elaborate hoax in history? Tell us in the comments.